Welcome, everyone. I would like to thank the Chicago Office of Equity and Racial Justice for the invitation to come speak about our Healing Centered Community Development Framework. My name is Chandra Christmas Rouse, and I'm the Program Officer in our Chicago office. Today, I am joined by Brandon Jones, the Cultural Resilience Program Director in the Bay Area office, and Megan Venable Thomas, the Cultural Resilience Program Director for National Initiatives. We are part of the Culture and Creativity team at Enterprise. Enterprise Community Partners is a national community development nonprofit that focuses on capital, policy, and programmatic solutions. As the Chicago team member of the Culture and Creativity team, I'm excited to share with you all how our team is reimagining what is possible within the field of community development, with culture, creativity, and healing at the center. And how we can continue our work together. This work is grounded in our lived experiences as Black practitioners seeking to make this world more healed and liberated through our work together. Today, we will be going over our healing story, what healing centered community development is, how we can build together, and conclude with our collective breath. I will now turn to Brandon.
Thank you so much for that, Chandra, and so excited to be here speaking to all of you today. Prior to my joining Enterprise and moving to the Bay, I served as the Director of Creative Placemaking for a white-led grassroots arts organization. There, I was charged with leading our community engagement and organizing efforts. So I really know firsthand and intimately the impacts of being tokenized within toxic organizational cultures while also trying to serve communities that look like me. You know, as we began to think through healing-centered community development strategies and what it meant and reflected, we had many dialogues with our colleagues across the country. And all of those conversations were first grounded in the lens and thinking of arts and culture. That allowed us the opportunity to witness organizations and practitioners begin to reflect upon their communities and their work in more refined and imaginative ways. All of us on this presentation and at home or in your offices are probably aware that the arts and cultural practices awaken in us new ways of seeing and dreaming for ourselves. So we decided to lean even deeper into those conversations. And in the process of doing so, we're able to cultivate more collaborative partnerships with our colleagues in the process. And through those conversations, we were able to cultivate spaces where true vulnerable dialogue could take place. So we learned all of the ways in which communities and organizations are resilient and beautiful, but also the hardships and the collective struggles, which, as I said, I intimately knew firsthand. Uh, and so we were able to hear practitioners themselves open up about their own struggles that they were experiencing and how most organizations were actively failing practitioners and by extension, the residents as well. You know, there was a lot of hurt, but there were so few opportunities and spaces within a professional setting to process and seek professional solutions for that hurt. The last year really illuminated a host of stressors and additional traumas that many of us have been trying to work to address for decades, especially all of our arts and culture partners. From economic wealth gaps, healthcare inequities, housing insecurity, to white supremacy. Yet 2020 also brought to the surface all of the many cracks in our system. We see how delicate our sense of security is, how vital our social connections are, the limits of our mental and emotional capacities. Yet what a few of us in the community development field have begun to observe, and even fewer have been willing to acknowledge out loud, is that frontline practitioners and individuals are really being crushed under the strain of it all. This is especially true for our Black and Indigenous individuals, and even more especially true for our women. In the community community of practice table that I am able to host here in the Bay, as well as from a scan of all of our colleagues across the country that are engaged in this cultural resilience work, we are beginning to hear the early signs of increased secondary trauma within the workplace, increased workloads and therefore exhaustion. Practitioners are grappling with internalized shame and guilt, as well as struggling with understandings of privilege. And we're also observing new physical ailments in people. The impact of sustaining this work has true implications for the body, and it's beginning to manifest in our colleagues that we're talking to. So regardless of how many organizational leaders may say what they may say or strategize, we know that our white supremacy systems work to perpetually protect business as usual. So without an explicit intervention that centers healing and mitigates cumulative trauma for all parties, our field will not be able to sustain much longer. And not only will we not be able to sustain, but we won't be equipped with the tools and resources to weather any additional 2020-esque occurrence that may lie ahead of us in the future. So that's why we really produced our Healing Centered Community Development Framework, which is outlined in our Building to Heal paper. And it serves as an offering to the field and to our colleagues that are committed to doing this work to engage in new ways of protecting and loving and healing ourselves and our communities. We'll now have Chandra go through our framework.
Thanks, Brandon. So healing-centered community development is a strength-based approach. It focused on a holistic view of healing and recenters culture and identity as a core component of well-being. We outlined the healing-centered community development framework in our paper, Building to Heal, a framework for holistic community development. And it includes plans of actions, personal practices, and collective organizing tools. We believe that this work is critical in how we repair and restore the relationships that Brandon spoke about and how it is necessary for equitable development. The paper is broken into two parts, and so I will first discuss how we are imagining centering Blackness and envisioning liberation. So we believe that not only is trauma passed down through generations, but also healing, and that's a core belief in the paper. We also discuss how centering Blackness steers one's mind, body, and imagination, where liberation and collective healing can be possible. The first step towards liberation requires a shifting of Blackness to the center, and explicit protection and lifting up of Black people. We also discuss how we do this work and how we do it together. And we have chosen ourselves and our peers as the audience because we understand that our own lived experience in this work most intimately. And we also know in the process of creating the framework, we have recognized the healing power of seeing one another and being seen. In addition to BIPOC practitioners, we have also listed pro-liberation allies. This includes nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and mission-aligned developers as part of our target audience. And these are folks who understand how to be anti-racist and want to decenter racism and trauma by moving Black practitioners and healing practices from the margins to the center. We believe that these are those who have the willingness, need, and desire to do the work of building new systems and fighting against racist systems. This work goes beyond solidarity to sacrifice. In the framework, we outline our principles. These articulate the norms and expectations for how we will work together and how your community will operate into the future. It provides guidance on how we can make decisions and take action. We also discuss our strategies and how that can take us deeper into what it looks like to apply healing-centered principles. These are about the choices we make together. And I will now turn to Megan.
Thank you, Chandra. So, how can we build to heal together? We found it takes bolstering our individual and team capacities to practice, try on, and integrate healing practices. We also found that shifting our organizational culture to support, protect, and prioritize healing centered processes. And by building a national network of practitioners to share, collaborate, and learn from one another, which allows us to work together as opposed to in silos, stitching the work together for a more comprehensive approach with national reach and impact. And we do this through a number of offerings. These offerings really help us to increase capacity and implementation to do this work. The tools and resources for practice organized within our healing centered inventory offer strategies for self reflection, as well as tactical materials relevant to what each practitioner needs for their own individual growth and success, as well as their team and organization. We increase implementation of healing centered practices by providing training and peer learning experiences for community development practitioners. Experiences that center practitioners' well being in a holistic way provide a really powerful and lasting impact on the outcomes that community developers are able to achieve. One example of a tool is the Healing Centered Project Screen. And this is just a snippet of it, but it provides prompts and questions that will help practitioners to apply the healing centered lens in the context of a community development project. It aligns with the principles and strategies outlined in our healing centered community development framework, and it really allows for folks to try on some of these ways to practice and center healing. I'll be followed by Brandon, who will speak a little bit more about our healing centered lens for outcomes and impact.
Thank you so much for that, Megan. So through our strategy, we seek to build a culture of continuous evaluation and provide a process that allows the reflection of self, any project, and the vitality of partnerships at all times. As part of this effort, we aim to transform the power dynamics that shape community development as a field by centering healing in how we perform, experience, and examine every aspect of our work. In our reflection, we are constantly learning from the teachings of our elders and cultural leaders. They have taught us to embrace stillness and to seize every moment as an opportunity to heal. So we incorporate groundings, land acknowledgements, and meditative practices in all of our engagements. So now we invite you to join us in a collective moment of breath. Center yourselves wherever you are, be it standing or sitting, and allow yourself to take a deep cleansing inhale in, rounding out full belly. Hold it and slowly exhale. Let's take one more cleansing breath in, inhaling all of the joy and lessons learned, and releasing a cleansing deep exhale. We always remind you in this work that the breath is home and you can always return to it.
Take notice of how you feel. What are the items or concepts that stand out to you? What is giving you comfort or discomfort? What will you carry forward in this work? We want to leave you all with the words of the civil rights activist Rosa Parks: to bring about change, you must not be afraid to take the first step. We will fail when we fail to try. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to building together in Chicago.